Welcome to another episode of Straight Talk on Stocks with Kevin Hurley, managing partner of Hurley Investments LLC, and Jeffrey Dunyan, CEO and owner of Safe Option Strategies. We are just a couple of guys that like to shoot straight with you and tell you about what's going on in the market, why it's going on, and most importantly, what you need to do about it. Straight Talk on Stocks likes to mix in a little bit of politics. We occasionally mix in a little bit of sports, and sometimes we just like to tell you what people are doing that really ticks us off. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Straight Talk on Stocks. We're live. We're going. Good morning, Kevin. How you doing?
Good morning, Jeff. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I am doing well. I'm not doing as well as you. I didn't spend the entire day yesterday on the ski slopes, but I did tell everyone when I did the presentation solo yesterday, I let everybody know that I was jealous because you were up skiing and I was not. So I hope that was well, you already told me. You texted me and sent me some pictures. I know you had a great time up there.
It was an amazing experience. I am so sore. We also bought night skiing because I had some weird deal. It was a 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. I'm exhausted.
Wow. Yeah. And you and I are at that age now where we can do all the stuff we did when we were younger, at least most of it, but we pay a heavier price the next day. That's what I tell my kids.
Yep.
Occasionally, one of my kids acts surprised that I'm able to go out and this is just kids being kids, but they'll act surprised if I can go out and play basketball with them or run with them or get up on the ski slopes and out ski them. They act like, wow, Dad, for a guy in your advanced years, I'm all of 50 years old, but for a guy of your advanced years, you do really good. And I let slide the comment about my advanced age. But I remind him, you're going to be fine in the morning. I'm going to pay for this dearly.
Well, before we talk about the market being down today, I'm pretty sure the last time I was trying to keep up with you on the slopes, didn't it cost me a broken collarbone?
I think so. I remember that. I felt pretty bad about that. I've been skiing since I was 11, 12 years old, and I ski avidly every year. So turning 50 hasn't slowed me down much. I stay off of the black diamond stuff just because it takes a toll and beats up the back and the joints. But with that exception, I still ski the way I want to ski for the most part.
Right on. Well, how about a down day in the market finally? We finally have a down day where obviously it's a Friday. People don't want to stay in over the weekend. They're looking to sell off some stocks that have had some profits for them. I see Apple down $1.92, sitting at 151.88. Bank of America is down 3 cents, but still at 25.69, a $1.50 run in the week, I think. Baidu's down $2, but still sitting at $1.66 and change. Disney's down 49 cents at 112.31. I mean, everything seems to be up nicely. Ford at 50 cents at 8.80.
I'm glancing off to my left as you're saying this because I'm looking at my other screen with the streaming quotes on it. Look, the market's down. It's been down as much as I think it got down. The Dow got down almost 200 points earlier in the session. It's only down 100 points now, or just a little bit more than that. But let me ask you this: in your mind, is today? I read some headlines. I was listening to the news as the market opened, listening to Fox Business News and flipping back and forth between there and CNBC. Those are the two channels I watch in the morning when I'm trying to get a feel for at least what the talking heads are thinking. But no matter what they said, the reasoning was for the market selling off a little bit today. And this is a minor sell-off. Let's be honest. 100 points on the Dow is like a drop in the bucket nowadays. In your mind, is it really truly anything other than profit taking today, regardless of what the other reasons people are giving for it?
It's either profit taking or it's profit taking.
Well, it's profit taking. So here's the thing. I scanned through headlines and, here's a couple things I heard. And if you can see what I've got on the screen right now, this sort of shows what I'm talking about. But hang on, when we're running this webcam things, it gets in the way of what I'm trying to show you. Bear with me for a second. Okay, so uncertainty, government shutdown, uncertainty over growth in China. Has anything changed in the uncertainty over growth on China? And is anything different today than it was a week ago about the government shutdown?
Well, let me think about it. We're uncertain about growth in China. So it's still in China, and it's really a world growth question. So no.
Okay, stop for a second. Let me rephrase the question. Is this paragraph right here? Okay, forget about this. Escalating concerns over an ongoing government shutdown and continued uncertainty over growth in China. Is that any different than the beginning of the week when stocks were going up?
Not that I know of.
No, I mean, I'll make it simple for everybody out there that's scratching their head. No, that's no different. This is this is not fake news. This is a writer, a reporter. I'm not even going to put the person's name on here who may have written this. This is a staff writer or a reporter for the financial news place that put this out, that doesn't know why the market is going down today any more than you or I know why the market is going down today. But they've got to sound smart. And in my opinion, this makes them stupid. The sell-off today has nothing to do with China. It has nothing to do with government shutdown. It has everything to do with people grabbing some profits after 5 days. The first time since September that we've had 5 days in a row at the close of the day yesterday that the major indexes were trading that finished to the upside. 5 days in a row for the first time since some point in September. And you hit the nail on the head, Kevin. The weekend is coming and people are saying, look, who knows what crazy news might come out over the weekend. I'm not going to go into Monday morning positioned the way I am right now. I'm going to grab some profits. I'll sit it out. I'll see where things start out on Monday, and then I'll decide what to do at that point. Nothing more, nothing less.
The sad thing about your comment here is this is news, and there were a handful of downgrades today that referenced Apple, that referenced China, and some worries about Starbucks being there. Kind of funny, if you read the Starbucks downgrade, they cite Apple, which makes no sense, drinking coffee and iPhones.
Oh, no, but, Kevin, that's absolutely untrue. Don't you know that to go into a Starbucks, you have to have an iPhone that you're looking down at? You can't make eye contact. Here's the thing about Starbucks. This is a rule. You cannot make eye contact with anybody in Starbucks. You have to be looking down at your iPhone when you walk into a Starbucks, or they will not serve you. I thought you knew that. I thought you frequented Starbucks enough that you knew that was so the two are closely tied together. Everybody knows they're closely tied together.
My bad. I'm not a Starbucks connoisseur.
Look, so here's what you're referencing. I hadn't read this yet, but just as you said it out loud, I thought that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. In the note, Holthouse. Okay, guess what? Holthouse, here's another analyst that doesn't know anything more than you or I know. And guess what? When Apple and Starbucks both kill their numbers next quarter, here's another smart person who's going to be surprised. Imagine that. Pointed to Apple's recent announcement that it was lowering sales guidance for its fiscal first quarter, citing weakness in China and lower than expected iPhone demand. The recent Apple announcement, while potentially also product driven, cited trade concerns, macro, and McDonald's acknowledged sober trends in the region at a late Holthouse. So Holthouse is saying,
English, isn't
it? This is really what he's saying. This is really what he's saying. Yeah, we're not going to hit our numbers, and it's not our fault. It's China's fault, because Apple said the same thing and McDonald's said the same thing. And what the reality is Starbucks charges 10 times what they should for a freaking cup of coffee, and some of the luster is gone, and the idiot owner gets too political at times. And every company has an occasional quarter where they're off of the analyst estimates. So why don't these people just be honest and call it what it is and say, hey, guess what? We're going to downgrade Starbucks because people are spending money on other stuff than Starbucks coffee. There's your reason.
Yeah. Some people, Jeff, that's all I'm going to tell you. Some people, it's unbelievable.
These analysts in their ivory tower jobs, they try and convince us that they're so smart And I'm telling you, most of them just make crap up. They seriously, they just make crap up and think that if they say it in an intelligible way, most of the lemmings out there are going to go, oh yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. Apple's not selling as many iPhones, so I guess people aren't drinking as much coffee. That makes perfect sense. That's brilliant.
So let me throw a little something your way. I know you'll agree with me on it. I am already getting protected for earnings. I have been protected using that long put option as an insurance contract on stock ownership. It's neat. I am down today, but on $7 million, I'm down 0.2%.
You're not supposed to tell people how much you trade.
Not a bad position to be in. I tell you, it's easier to use some of those option strategies, the collar trade, the protective put, some of the stuff you teach in the safe option strategies education. It's my opinion, it's easier to protect some of your gains than having to bail out of the market, having to sell off to create a taxable event. And what are your thoughts on some of these people that are trying to day trade or swing trade these ridiculous stock markets with this volatility? Just give me some thoughts.
Worst time in the world to try and be a day trader or a swing trader or a spread trader that doesn't know how to plan and make a trade adjustment. I got to tell you, most of my money is in collar trades right now. Most of my money is protected. I just the uncertainty, the way headlines are driving things right now, there's no way you can hold a stock position and think you can outguess the volatility. People, here's what I run into all the time. People get into a position and based on something they've read, based on something Jim Cramer has said, based on what their neighbor, I mean, this is kind of an age-old story. Based on something they think they know, something they think they're smart about, they go into a position. They say, yeah, I know this is going on, this China stuff, but this one, I'm confident this one's going to go through earnings. They're going to report good numbers. Everybody's telling me they're going to report good numbers for this reason and this reason. What's different, right? And again, that's an age-old story. You go back to the earliest days that I had money in the market, mid 90s, and that's been happening. And for these people that have been in the market since the 70s and the 60s, this has been happening for the life of the stock market. The difference right now is the amount of money you can lose when you're wrong. People are still going to be wrong. They're still going to be right. If you just want to have the biggest possible payoff for a wild ass guess, go spend a weekend in Atlantic City or Las Vegas. You'll have a lot more fun. You'll know how much money you're going to lose going in, but you'll eat good food. You'll have good entertainment. You're way better off going and putting it all on red on the roulette table and having a good time in the process than thinking you know what a stock is going to do after it reports earnings. And having so much of your money at risk. It's absolute insanity for people to think they can outguess it. And the price you pay right now today is greater than the price you've paid in the past, both from a dollar and a percentage standpoint. So nothing has changed.
Let me make a comment if you don't mind.
What's that?
Let me make a comment if you don't mind. You said for what they think they know. I'm shocked right now at how many computer programs are out there, how many red and green arrows, how many software, artificial intelligence, which is really just a stock screener. How many people are looking at something that touts an advantage and haven't figured out yet that it's just past history and a computer program, a person, a software making a guess about the market and selling it for tens of thousands of dollars when you and I could look at a stock chart and see exactly the same thing and make the exact same guess. It's foolish. People consider the stock market gambling, and it is gambling when they think that a software program, that maybe there's artificial intelligence, which is really just a fancy stock screener, can predict the future, can predict information that's not yet known, that hasn't come to pass, that there's no way that that information is available to make an educated decision on, yet people are blowing tens of thousands of dollars on crap. It's ridiculous crap. And it bothers me because as I hear and talk to clientele, I'm hearing someone that's bringing over 300, well, they thought they're bringing over 325,000. That turned out to be 195. All of it lost last year using an artificial intelligence program that showed it was all artificial intelligence. There wasn't any real intelligence there whatsoever. So just wanted to make a plug or a point that your brain is probably still the best tool out there for stock trading. Looking at past charts can do exactly what most of these programs that are charging people tens of thousands of dollars can do. And being willing and honest to admit that you don't know it is probably a smart way to be in the stock market, using obviously some hedging strategies to protect your positions. It's common sense. This isn't rocket science. Yet I'm shocked how many people look at
But you're
some weird
expecting
rocket
people
science to think it's going to really help them out.
you're expecting people to use common sense.
Imagine that.
You expect people to use common sense. Nobody uses common sense anymore. They trade on emotion. They trade on a headline. They trade out of desperation because they lost some money last year and they're desperate to get it all back on the next trade. It's look, trading for people that don't have a real disciplined system and something that works no matter what the market is doing. And part of that system has to include a hedge. It has to cut. You have to approach it with the idea in mind that you do not know what the market is going to do tomorrow. You do not know what a given stock is going to do following an earnings report. And if you think you do, you're already playing a losing game. If you think you know the next card that the dealer's going to throw down and you bet everything, you're playing a losing game. You might win on occasions, but overall that is stacked way in favor of the house. Everybody knows that. But you hit the nail. It's people don't trade with common sense anymore. You've got to have a system. You've got to have a system that includes hedging. You've got to have a system that includes that you've got to find a way to insert common sense back into what you're doing. That's what people are missing more than anything else in the way they trade right now. Did you happen to catch any of Neil Cavuto's interview with Carl Icahn? I think back at the beginning of the week, Monday or Tuesday. Did you catch any of that?
I didn't. Yes,
Okay.
I did.
You
Thoughts?
Carl Icahn knows how to make some money, you think?
I think he's got enough money to factor making money in the stock market.
Okay. Carl Icahn is hedged in everything right now. He's not bearish. He talked about the underlying fundamentals of the market being sound. He talked about positive earnings. He talked about companies being helped by the tax cuts. I get a little bit ticked off when people say the tax cuts aren't doing anything. What a load of crap. There's 2 million people that have jobs today that didn't have jobs 2 years ago because companies hired more as a result of the tax cuts. Everyone wanted these tax cuts to go right to this instant. Companies are making 3 times as much profit because of tax cuts. Companies are doing all this because of tax cuts. No, what they did was they hired more employees. They brought more people into the fold. There are more jobs. There's more money in the economy. Labor participation is way up. You missed it. I know you haven't had a chance to listen to yesterday's podcast yet, but I really got on one about unemployment and labor participation. And I lit up the people that put out the statistics about unemployment and conveniently leave out labor participation. But those things are different in large part because of the tax cuts, because of companies being able to bring money back to the U.S. that they've parked offshore because of the crazy high taxes. But look, back to trading. Carl Icahn, who look, I'm not a gigantic Carl Icahn fan in the sense that I don't love activist investors. I'm not a big fan of people who accumulate so many shares of a company that now they can start getting their way and demanding that the rest of the board do certain things or demanding that the company management do certain things. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I'm also not stupid enough to think Carl Icahn doesn't know what he's talking about more often than not. The guy's made enough money that you've got to give some respect there. And Icahn is saying what I think people need to hear. Um, you don't have to be bearish, but you have to be hedged. There is still a tremendous amount of uncertainty. There's a tremendous amount of fear. The market sentiment is still scared. And so a headline can still push this market to new all-time lows in the blink of an eye. If over the weekend or even today, I mean, the market's still going to be open for 4 more hours today. If a headline came out that said negotiations have broken down with China, I'm telling you right now, we'd have a sell-off equal to the 1,000-point gain we had in the Dow a week ago. We'd have a sell-off in equal proportion to that. If because not because anything has changed. It doesn't mean negotiations are dead. It doesn't mean we're not going to get a deal. It doesn't mean that we don't still have time on this 90-day thing that was put forth. It just means that there's been a stall, that they've run into a sticking point. That's what negotiations are. Negotiations are back and forth, give and take, and occasionally you run into a sticking point that you've got to find another way to work around. But if that headline came out today, people would crap down the back of both of their legs. They'd sell everything they have, and they would run for the hills with their guns and ammunition and food storage, because the world is going to end tomorrow. That's the mentality that is out there in the market right now. And it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's because people are betting the farm on what they think is going to happen. And at the end of the day, they don't know. What was
Isn't that the truth? And again, you made the comment, a disciplined strategy. A disciplined strategy isn't okay with taking losses. A disciplined strategy isn't running in and out of the market based on fear. It's a hedge strategy that you can weather the storms of the market. And because you weathered those storms, you're going to be better off as the cycle turns, as we turn back to the upside. It shocks me how many people, out of luck, out of a one-time unproven system, think they've got the market figured out, yet find out that their SEP IRA went from 325 down to 195. It's shocking.
Yeah, anybody can get lucky, and at some point in time, if you're gonna make consistent returns in the market, you've got to get good at what you're doing. Luck will take you so far. And that, we joke around. You and I golf a lot. I got my golf shirt on today. We joke around about sometimes I'd rather be lucky than good, because you hit a bad shot that takes a good bounce, and you end up in a good spot on the golf course. And people do that all the time in the market. They get lucky on something, and it messes with their mind. They get fooled into thinking that they're good, and they're not. They can get good, but luck will only take you so far. You need a lucky shot every now and then. If you want to be a good golfer, you've got to have the fundamentals down, and then you got to get lucky once in a while. Once in a while, if you rely on luck, you're a crappy golfer that's got a handicap up over 20. And you might still enjoy the game. You might still play and enjoy the game. I'm not saying you can't still enjoy the game, but if you want to be a good golfer, if you want a single-digit handicap, if you want to be a strategic a scratch golfer, you've got to you need to get lucky once in a while, but you've got to be good. You got to be good at the fundamentals of your golf swing and your approach and your course management and all that stuff. And you got to not have a kink in your back every time you swing the club too hard. Like I've got, see me rubbing my back instinctively when I say kink in the back, and I reach down and rub my back. Kept me off the golf course a lot of last summer, a stupid little kink in my back, but we'll fix that for this coming summer. All right. Any other thoughts? Do you want to talk a little bit about my favorite story that came out yesterday that just absolutely brought such joy to my heart because of one CNN reporter that has got to be one of the biggest morons on the planet?
So I'm doing lunch. I'm getting my phone buzzing in my pocket.
This is yesterday when you were on the ski slopes.
Was this little Jimmy that you're talking
Yeah.
about?
This was great, man. This was absolutely fantastic. Jim Acosta on his moral high horse, the guy, the smartest man in the room, no matter who else in his mind, the smartest man in the room. Let me tell you something about Jim Acosta, from my opinion. When he's using the bathroom in his own house, he's still not the smartest man in the room. This guy steps in it more often than any reporter I know. But yesterday was one of the classics. He's walking along the southern border in McAllen, Texas, and he's doing his little home video. He's doing his selfie with his selfie stick video, and he's like, "I'm here in McAllen, Texas, on the border, and I don't see anything resembling a national emergency. I'm here by this steel slat wall, and it's just not what it's purported to be." And the Twitter universe and the internet just lit up within minutes. It lit up with people pointing out to Jim Acosta what a freaking moron he is. The guy is down there trying to tell us that there's no national emergency, and his way of proving it is saying, "See, it's all peaceful here where there's a wall." Thanks, Jim. You just made our point. You just made the point perfectly for everyone, including the president, who thinks the wall should be there. You just helped prove it in your moronic attempt to put it down. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I was laughing as I was on the ski slopes yesterday, giggling at what a moron he is. And again, all you have to do, unfortunately, out there in McAllen, Texas, is look at the crime rates and what it's caused by, where their police force spends a lot of their time. And it's shocking to see what a problem it is even down there. And it's not necessarily at that portion of the wall, but outside of it, where there's issues all over the place.
Someone threw out, some idiot reporter threw out a statistic yesterday and said McAllen, Texas is considered one of the safest cities in the United States. And look, someone somewhere may have put out a report where they cherry picked some statistics and they looked at the city limits of McAllen. It's not in the city limits of McAllen where you've got a great police force, you've got great border control, you've got the city cops, you got the county cops, you got everybody right there. Get 5 minutes outside of McAllen, Texas, where the wall ends and people are flooding through. And they're not hanging around in McAllen going to Starbucks and ordering breakfast at McDonald's or taking the family to Chuck E. Cheese that night. They're getting across the border and they're immediately moving for the interior. So, you know what? Maybe there is a statistic that's semi-legitimate that says the city of McAllen has certain crime statistics that are low, but that's because the people coming across illegally aren't going into McAllen and camping at Motel 6 that night and registering. They're putting their credit card on file. It's people. The way people report news nowadays just pisses me off to no end, because it's all opinion based. There's such a lack of objective news anymore. But back to Acosta. I mean, this guy is classic. This guy, when history looks back 10, 15, 20 years from now, no one's going to see Jim Acosta as the hero, the champion of the people that he considers himself. They're going to see him as the fly in the ointment that was a moron every time he opened his mouth. We were saying yesterday, I think I said, you know how you can tell if Chuck or Nancy are lying, and the answer is because their lips are moving. You know how you can tell if Jim Acosta is saying something stupid? It's because his lips are moving. It's the same thing. I mean, this guy is he's classic. I got to tell you, Jim Acosta, in a way, and I would put Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in this same camp, and there's a few others that I would put in the same camp. I love these people. I absolutely love these people, because as much as they try to sound smart and as much as they try to impress other people with how brilliant their analysis is and their ideas and stuff like that, every time they open their mouth, I just smile, because I think you people are just proving that you are on the wrong side of damn near every opinion you have. And it makes me happy. It makes me all fuzzy and warm inside when these idiots get out there and blather and think they're the smartest people in the world. It's fun.
I hear you. I hear you. Anything for us over the weekend?
No, we'll be back on Monday to probably talk about what goes on over the weekend. I think we'll hear a lot more about the government shutdown. We'll hear a lot more about. I think some news will break over the weekend on what's going to happen with what is happening with the China talks. For good or bad, it'll spur the markets. I think before the day is over today, we finished kind of flat, but I think Monday's going to be a big market day, up or down. I'm not predicting up or down. I just think it's going to be a big market day. More than that, I'm looking forward to the banks and financial institutions starting their earnings next week. Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Wells Fargo. I think they all report next week. The majority of that on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I believe. There might be one or two of them reporting on Monday or Tuesday, but the bulk of it's going to be Wednesday on. That'll be interesting. I'm interested to see what they say. If analyst expectations have come down enough that they actually produce some good numbers by comparison.
Bank of America on Wednesday is what I'm really paying attention to next week.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, everybody, stay hedged. Whatever you think might happen, don't go through the early part of this earnings season without any position you have being strongly hedged. You gotta protect yourself. And even though I don't think it's the smartest move to get out and sit in cash. If you don't know how to protect your open positions, you're better off in cash. And that may be a little bit of what's happening today is the people that just don't know better are going to cash for the weekend. Any last thoughts? Oh, Kevin's gone. Kevin's out.
I'd say so as well. You have a good weekend.
All right, you too. You lost your internet, but you lost it at the perfect time because we were just wrapping up. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Have a good weekend. Enjoy yourself.